Welcome to another episode on the Lessons from the Game podcast. Today is our short form episode. In 2019, something special happened behind the scenes of South African rugby. Annelee Murray, the Springboks' longtime PR manager, takes us inside the emotional engine room of that World Cup winning journey. From a powerful first team meeting where egos were left at the door to the quiet sacrifices made by every member of the squad. This wasn't just a rugby campaign, it was a mission to unite a nation. In this moment, Andy shares how Rassie Erasmus set the tone, how transformation meant more than race, and how everyone, players, coaches, and staff, carried their own suitcase on the path to greatness. Check it out.
Andy, I want to go in right into the heat of things. That 2019 World Cup. All right, World Cups as a former player has become really emotionally draining for me. After the 2023 World Cup, I wanted to take a month sabbatical, but I couldn't. I needed to work. But 2019, you were there. That was special. After losing, if I'm not mistaken, against the All Blacks in the pool stages, and then still pulling that rabbit out of the hat and going all the way to win the World Cup. Can you share your experience about that World Cup?
I think if we go back to 2018, that was really the start with this new coaching regime. Rassie came on board again. He had been with us. You were with us in 2011 World Cup. Rassie and Jacques were there as consultants. And then Rassie sort of was a director of rugby and he was involved. And then he left. He went and learnt at Munster and he learnt things and he always talks about. And he came back in 2018, and that was really the start of 2019. And actually, interestingly enough, 2023 was the actual target to win the World Cup. Then we started with this journey in 2018. Rassie kind of put the first meeting, he put the cup, the Webb Ellis Cup in the middle, because as a winning nation, you get a replica cup. So SA Rugby now have 4 in their cabinet, but at that time we had 2. And he put it in the middle, and he said that, that is, from now on, there's no egos. Everybody's the same, whether you are the kit master, you're the physio, you're the PR manager, you're the coach, you're the head coach, you're the fitness and coach, you're the analyst, whatever you are, everybody's equal. All the players are equal. And what he did was he had a board, and he wrote down every single player and where they came from. Makazolo Mapimpi from the Transkei, Lukanya Arm from King Williamstown, Rene Naylor from Belhar. And when he wrote down everyone's where they came from, you all realized that you all had a journey, and not everyone's journey was easy. And, some people, he put the Francois Lowe, Bishop's Court, and he put your school, Bishops, and some schools were like really private, expensive schools. Some schools were not. And everyone had a journey to get there, and it wasn't easy. Flo's journey wasn't easy. He had to work hard because he was, he'd sort of come through an easy way, but it wasn't easy to get there. And no egos, and everyone was the same. And he sort of said that it starts now. So throw out your things now. We're going to have this talk about elke een dra sy eie tassie. So in English, that means everyone carries your own suitcase, Ben. That doesn't mean to say that, you don't help anyone else, but we are one team here. So, if you're on the field and you need to help someone clean out a ruck, then that's what you do. Or if you're a flanker and you need to take the ball out for the scrum off, then that's what you do. Whereas my job, if I had to make ice towels during half time, then that's what I did. But that wasn't part of my job description, but we all helped each other. And I think that's where it really, really started, is to support each other. No egos. We all came from different backgrounds. We're not all friends, but we're all together. We're all in this together. And that's where it really started. And then, we won in New Zealand that year in 2018, and we won the rugby championships. And then we won by 2 points in New Zealand that year. Cheslin came on. He started and he scored that amazing try just as he came on. And then the next year, and then we went to Argentina and we won the rugby championships. And then the next year we went back to Wellington. They loved taking us to Wellington in New Zealand. And we actually were far behind. And then we came back, and Herschel Jantjies, Peter threw a pass to Herschel Yankees, and we scored in the 81st minute, and Andre had a hard kick, and he kicked over, and we drew 34 all. So, and that's when the team really started believing, because Rassie came in and he said he had three things: to transform, to win, and only once you transformed, and transformation doesn't mean black or white, as people in South Africa would think. It means how you think, how you do things, how your actions are, how you play. That's what transform is. But we transformed the team, and we all had the same mission. Once we started winning, could we then give hope to the country? Could we then attract commercial partners? Could we bring money in and all that? So that's how it started. And then by the time we actually got to Japan, we went to Japan. We were the first team to arrive in Japan. And because we played Japan in a warm-up game, which really helped us. We were there for 3 weeks longer than anyone else. So we were there for really nearly 2.5 months in Japan. But it was a sacrifice that we did, and we wanted to do. And we got to Japan, and we just had this amazing support. So did every other team. We thought, wow, the Japanese love us and everything. And we played them until we played them in the quarterfinal, when suddenly, we didn't get enough food, we didn't get enough this, the lights went out at certain times, just for that week, and the next week it was turned on again, and we were okay again. But the Japanese were unbelievable. So, and then we started believing, the team, and everyone believed that the team were playing for something more than just themselves. They were playing for a country that so desperately, just so desperately needed this, and sport has the unique ability to bridge gaps and bring people together, and more so in South Africa than anywhere, I think, that we've seen that, so that's how it started, Guthrie.
Yeah, so Andy, that's brilliant. Look, I can definitely say I've been fortunate. I've been there when we won the World Cup, and I've been with some of those big games. I'm also playing in Soweto and see what sport can do for our country. But I would like to know more. Tell me, is there more stories that happened in Japan? More than just lights going off? Didn't suitcases or anything get lost? Except for that, was everything going well? Was there any other challenges you guys faced as a team in Japan?
Look, the operations team had been to Japan many times and had really done their homework so well. Charles Wessels, the Springbok team manager. He's really, really astute and good at his job. That's why he's been there for so long. He doesn't leave a stone unturned. So, the logistics team and the operations team and the strength and conditioning coach had been there many times. And everything was, to the kind of which restaurants we were going to go to and where we were going to eat. So we had many challenges, but we'd also prepared exceptionally well. And my job, sort of being part of the operational team, was everything off the field, So obviously not coaching and not on the field. The only time I ever ventured my opinion in the coaching world was with my first coach, Harry Viljoen. It was a very funny story. He dropped Andre Vos as captain the day before we played a match in against Argentina in Port Elizabeth. He made Bobby Skinstad the captain. And I was terribly upset by this, only purely from an emotional point of view, because obviously I cared about the players. And Fussy was such a lovely guy, and so was Bob, but so is Bob. And, and I sort of went to him and I said, it's really a bad decision to drop, and not meaning from a rugby perspective. And he gave me such a mountain of words that I've never forgotten it, and I've never mentioned another thing. And now I'm just an armchair critic, and I don't think Shetson should be picked, but I'll keep it to myself. So that was the only time I ever ventured into giving my opinion in the coaching world. But so our job was to get everything off the field. And there were challenges, there were challenges. The language was a big challenge in Japan, but we surrounded ourselves with translators and people that were just unbelievable and really supportive. We had a group of massage therapists that traveled with us that were Japanese. And they adopted South Africa as their team. We still keep in touch with them. The liaison officers, we still keep in touch with. Like we did in Paris and France, we still keep in touch with those guys and our security detail and all that. We really gave a lot back to Japan as well, to make rugby sort of more accessible and open, and we did clinics and we did all sorts of things. Whatever they asked of us, we did. And I think that was part of the success. Rassie said to me beforehand, what about the families? Are we going to allow them to come? And I said, absolutely, you have to. And I said, we've built this culture that it's a family environment, because if you're happy at home, you're happy, at work. And the rugby player's job is to play rugby, and their work is rugby. And the coach, the families need to know that they are welcome and accessible. So our work was tripled, because we had this whole entourage of extra 86 people traveling with us. So that meant like booking more hotel rooms, more buses, getting them to the stadium, getting them back from the stadium, ensuring that, that their boundaries were kept. Your wife doesn't go to your boardroom with you. Well, they didn't come to the team room, but we made sure that there were other places for them to go to. So no detail was left unturned, but there were challenges, especially, as I said to you, in the week that we played Japan in the quarterfinals, because the whole of Japan sort of celebrated their amazing run in the World Cup and what they brought to their country. And, we were training, and we sort of trained at the times that we played. So it was night time, and we got to get the training field, and the lights were suddenly off. And, we had to sort of wait half an hour for them to put on. Oh, no, sorry. And the Japanese are not like that. They're very organized, polite, accommodating people. And, then the dietitian would say, sure, but, I didn't have enough salmon for the meal today. And the Japanese would go, sorry. And so there were little things, but we just took it in our stride. And when we beat Japan, we sort of felt that they then accepted us again and supported us again against Wales. And that was a really tight game. I mean, the only difference was Handre's kick at the end and Damien's amazing try. And then, then they equaled, and then that kick, and that's what separated us. The final was actually a bit of a letdown compared to the two semi-finals were unbelievable games, the All Blacks against England and us against Wales. And then that led us to, once we'd beaten them there, kind of felt like a lot like Paris that week. Remember when we were in Paris in 2007, the Eiffel Tower was green and gold, and we had all these signs, and I looked for those signs, because players are very sort of superstitious and that kind of stuff. And when we did the final press conference, Rassie and Francine did the press conference before the captain's press conference, because Francine now was obviously going for his second World Cup, and the whole roof was green and gold, and I was like, oh my God, this is a sign. And everyone was just, it was incredibly calm. We kind of just knew that I knew that the team had this. It was same in Paris. It was obviously tighter game. But the game in Japan, we just felt that we had this, because they were playing for a greater purpose than just for themselves. They were playing for a country that was not united, and it was just unbelievable to bring that trophy home.
Wow, Annelee, there's so much there. I was just making notes, actually, because there's so many lessons there. This is lessons from the game, but I guess, and I'll come back to them in a second, because you talk about basically a growth mindset and being curious, and with the Harry Viljoen example, staying in your lane, and probably you've got so many lessons that you can share with us, and with the listeners.